So you just picked up the new Endwalker expansion and you want to become a Reaper. Cool. Unfortunately, you kind of look basic. That's right. I said it. But don't worry, I got you covered. Alright, so the first thing I need you to do is head over to your glamour dresser. You're going to pick out the drippiest glamour that you can find. There we go. This is a global buff with 100% uptime, also known as fashion is the true endgame. You see, it's very important to flex on your enemies at every opportunity available. And now, we're ready to do our Reaper training. Alright, so I want to start this off by going over a little skills overview, just so we can get a general idea of what each ability does and the potencies behind it, combo interactions, and such and so forth. Also, as a reminder, this is a beginner's guide, so those who went and just picked up Reaper and they're level 70, this is for them. So if you're level 80 or 90, unfortunately this isn't the video for you. Once I get higher level, then maybe I can do a video on level 80 and 90 Reaper. But as of right now, this is strictly for new Reapers, or should I say level 70 Reapers. First up, we have Scythe. Delivers an attack with the potency of 300, increases soul gauge by 10. So your soul gauge is basically the Reaper's gauge that allows you to use certain abilities that we'll be going over later. Next up, we have Wax and Slice. Delivers an attack with a potency of 140. Combo action Slice, combo potency 380, and increases soul gauge by 10. So what you would do is start off with Slice and then immediately go right into Wax and Slice. Shadow of Death. Delivers an attack with a potency of 300. Additional effect. Afflicts target with Death's design. Increasing damage you deal target by 10%. Duration 30 seconds. Extends duration of Death's design by 30 seconds to a maximum of 60 seconds. Additional effect. Increases soul gauge by 10 if the target is KO'd before effects expire. So I want to take the time to emphasize the importance of this skill right here. So you're going to want to have this skill up at all times. Basically, when you apply this, it applies a debuff to the enemies or the targets and increases your damage. This is the single target version, but later on we'll be going over the AOE version. But yeah, you want to have this up at all times to increase your damage. Also, each time you kill an enemy with the status effect still on, it's going to increase your soul gauge by 10. The AOE version also does the same thing, but it's just AOE. But yeah, basically have this buff, or I'm sorry, have this debuff on the enemies at all times. Not only to increase your damage, but also to replenish your soul gauge. Always be sure to keep an eye out on the timer, that way you can apply a refresh. Just keep in mind that this can be constantly refreshed, both with the single target version and the AOE version can both be used again to refresh the timer all the way up to a maximum of 60 seconds. Next up, we have Harp. This is going to be your ranged ability. Deals unexpected damage with a potency of 300. It actually has a pretty cool little mechanic with the next skill we're going to be going over, which is Hell's Ingress and Hell's Egress. Alright, so Hell's Ingress, this is basically your teleport. It's going to teleport you a good distance in the direction that you're looking at. This basically allows the Harp that we were talking about before to be an instant cast. And this lasts for 15 seconds. Pretty cool ability. Hell's Egress is basically the same thing except it's going to teleport you backwards. So wherever you're looking, it's just going to teleport you backwards. It's so say if you're trying to dodge an AOE or something, you can quickly cast Hell's Ingress to get out of the way of one of the AOEs. It's really nice. So the Reaper is like really mobile when it comes to using these moves. You can go forward and backwards. So we have Spinning Scythe. Delivers an attack with a potency of 140 to all enemies. Increases soul gauge by 10. So this is going to be one of your first abilities for your AOE openers. Infernal Slice. Delivers an attack with a potency of 140. Combo action Wax and Slice. Combo potency 460. And combo bonus increases soul gauge by 10. So this is going to be a continuation of your single target rotation. So you're going to do Slice, Waxing Slice, and then Infernal Slice. World of Death. This is essentially the AOE version of Shadow of Death. So what you would do is if you see a group of ads, you would just go in the middle of them and basically just hit your World of Death and proc the status effect Death Design on all of them. This is going to increase your damage, and if you kill them before the effect expires, it's going to increase your soul gauge by 10 per each target. Really helpful stuff. So yeah, if you can proc this on a bunch of enemies and kill them really quickly, you'll quickly replenish your soul gauge. Really useful. Arcane Crest. Grants Crest of Time borrowed to self, creating a barrier that nullifies damage totaling up to 10% of maximum HP. This lasts for 5 seconds and is on a 30-second cooldown. Pretty self-explanatory. You find yourself in a sticky situation, pop this shield. Once you level up Reaper, there is a trait that gives this heal over time and allows you to grant it to other party members. Pretty dope. Again, this is on a 30-second cooldown, so you can cast it pretty frequently. Nightmare Scythe. So this is going to be the second ability you're going to use in your AOE rotation. So right after you do Spinning Scythe, you're going to go right into Nightmare Scythe. Delivers an attack with a potency of 120 to all nearby enemies. Combo action Spinning Scythe. Combo potency 180. Combo bonus increase soul gauge by 10. Bloodstock. Now here's where things get a bit interesting. Summons your avatar to deliver an attack with a potency of 340. This will grant you Soul Reaver for 30 seconds, and it costs 50 soul gauge. So Soul Reaver basically allows you to use these abilities down here. It's going to be Guillotine, Gallows, and Gibbet, which we'll touch more on later. Alright, so the way this works is you're going to cast Bloodstock. This is going to grant you Soul Reaver, and then you'll be able to cast either Gibbet, Gallows, or Guillotine. Grim Swath, or is it Grim Swath? Let me know if I'm pronouncing this wrong. I'm just gonna call it Grim Swath. Anyway, Grim Swath is basically the AOE version of Bloodstock. Summons your avatar to deliver an attack with a potency of 140 to all enemies in a cone before you. Grants Soul Reaver for 30 seconds, costs 50 soul gauge. So same thing as Bloodstock, just in the AOE version. The next two abilities are highly important. These two abilities are going to be key in your soul gauge accumulation. We have the single target ability, Soul Slice. Delivers an attack with a potency of 460. Additional effect increases soul gauge by 50. So this is the big kicker here. Increases soul gauge by 50. That is a lot of soul gauge. You're going to be popping this as soon as you can, or probably at the beginning of your rotation is when I would recommend it. That way you can get 50 soul gauge straight from the jump. So whenever you see this ability off cooldown, you're going to want to implement it into your rotation. That way you can get your soul gauge back. Soul Scythe delivers an attack with a potency of 180 to all nearby enemies. This will increase your soul gauge by 50 and it shares a recast timer with Soul Slice. So you won't be able to use these abilities at the same time. You have to use one or the other. You should already be doing that anyway, because one is going to be for one is going to be for single target and one's going to be for AOE. Soul Slice is going to be your single target and Soul Scythe is going to be your AOE. Alright, here's where things can get a little bit confusing. So now we're getting into the Soul Reaver abilities. First up we have Gibbet. So you have two Soul Reaver abilities that are going to be used to augment your other abilities. These are going to be Gibbet and Gallows. These are going to be used to augment Grim Swath and Bloodstalk. Well, let's go back over our Soul Reaver abilities because these can get kind of confusing, to be honest. So Gibbet says, delivers an attack with a potency of 400, 460 when executed from a target's flank. Enhanced Gibbet potency is 460, flank enhanced potency is 520. Additional effect grants enhanced Gallows for 60 seconds. The action Bloodstalk changes to Unveiled Gallows while under the effect of Enhanced Gallows. Can only be executed while under the effect of Soul Reaver. Alright, so there's a lot going on here. The main things that you want to keep in mind when using these abilities is that Gibbet is going to be the attack position is going to be from the target's flank, and Gallows is going to be from the target's rear. So Gallows is from the rear, Gibbet is from the flank. Now keep in mind you don't have to do the positionals, but if you want to get the maximum damage potency, you are going to have to do the positionals. Or you can go ahead and use True North, which should make it so you don't have to do the positionals and still get the maximum damage out. Something else to keep in mind, depending on which Soul Reaver skill you use, either Gibbet or Gallows, it's going to augment Bloodstalk into either Unveiled Gallows or Unveiled Gibbet. So if you use Gibbet, it's going to change your Bloodstalk into Unveiled Gallows, and if you use Gallows, it's going to change your Bloodstalk into Unveiled Gibbet. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is both Gibbet and Gallows enhance one another. So if you pop Gibbet, it's going to enhance Gallows, and if you do Gallows, it's going to enhance Gibbet. And lastly, we have Guillotine. This is just going to be your AOE Soul Reaver ability. So you'll just use it whenever you're up under the effects of Soul Reaver and you're in a AOE situation. Just add it to your AOE rotation. Pretty straightforward. Moving on to our role abilities, you can grab any of these that you like. I personally pick up Second Wind just for emergency situations. True North if you don't want to do the positionals. There are quite a few for the Reaper, so you can definitely use that if you don't want to deal with those and you still want to get the maximum damage potency out for Gibbet and Gallows. Just keep in mind you only get 2 charges of this before it goes on cooldown. Next we have our traits. A lot of these as you level up are just going to be potency increases, which is nice. It's extra damage, but the more you level up, the stronger enemies you're gonna fight. So it's what it is. What it is. The ones that are kind of cool to me are the Hell's Gate. This one, upon executing Hell's Ingress or Hell's Egress, leave behind a Hell's Gate and grant threshold to self for 10 seconds. Hell's Ingress and changes to Regress after executing Hell's Egress and vice versa. So essentially, I think this is, it leaves a little purple, like little portal or dimension thing. You can basically go back and forth in the teleporter instead of just waiting. But yeah, I think that allows you to basically teleport back and forth, which is really dope. We have Tempered Soul, allows the accumulation of charges for consecutive uses of Soul Slice and Soul Scythe, which means you'll be able to use Soul Slice and Soul Scythe more often, which in turn means you'll be able to get more Soul Gauge back. So win-win. Shroud Gauge allows for Shroud Gauge accumulation upon landing of Gibbet, Gallows, and Guillotine. So use Gibbet, Gallows, and Guillotine and you get more Shroud Gauge. So your Soul Gauge is a gauge you get later on. It basically allows you to turn into your avatar and unlocks a whole different moveset. It looks pretty cool. It's like that red aura that you've seen in the Reaper trailer. Looks pretty dope. This is the one that I'm personally looking forward to. It just feeds into my inner support main. So Enhance Arcane Crest grants Crest of Time return to self and nearby party members, gradually restoring HP over time. This effect is only granted when the Crest of Time borrowed barrier is completely absorbed. Cure potency 100 and duration is 15 seconds. So basically, instead of it just being a shield applied to you, now you can apply it to your party members or people around you. And once it's broken, it will gradually restore HP as well. So you can feel like a semi-support, like you have some support abilities, and I love that kind of stuff. And then you have Enhanced Shroud and Enhanced Arcane Circle. I'm not going to go too deep into those as it's going to be quite a while before I even get to level 88, and this is again just a beginner's guide. What I want to do right now is go over some of the abilities, mainly showing you guys how to do the single target and AOE rotation. So starting off with our single target opener, we're going to start off with Shadow of Death to apply Death's Design, right into Slice, Waxing Slice, and then Infernal Slice. Right at the top here we have our Soul Gauge. You're going to get Soul Gauge by doing moves like Soul Slice and Soul Scythe, also by killing enemies under the effects of Death's Design. So your Soul Gauge is going to be what allows you to use moves like Bloodstalk and Grim Swath. What you're going to do this time is open up with Shadow of Death, Soul Slice, Slice, Waxing Slice, and then Internal Slice. Then you're going to use Bloodstalk, Gibbet from the flank, enhancing your Gallows and granting Unveiled Gallows, and then right into Unveiled Gallows. Keep in mind when you're using Unveiled Gallows and Gibbet, you don't have to do the positionals. And do keep in mind you can interchange both Gibbet and Gallows and Unveiled Gallows and Unveiled Gibbet. It just all depends on which position you're going to go for. Gibbet again is going to be from the flank, and then your Gallows is going to be from the rear, but you can just change those out how you see fit. Now for our AOE rotation, we're going to start off with Whirl of Death, Soul Scythe, Spinning Scythe, Nightmare Scythe, Grim Swath, and then right into Guillotine. Next up, we have our ranged ability, Harp. As you can see, for whatever reason, we have a cast time. On the bright side, it does look pretty cool, I can't lie. So the cool thing about Harp is how it interacts with Hell's Ingress and Hell's Egress. So if you cast either one of those abilities right after you cast them, you'll be able to use Harp as an instant cast. So you can use this in various situations. If you need to dodge an AOE but you still want to do damage, or you can use it offensively. If say you're in PvP and somebody is running away or you need to get closer to them, you can just close the gap on them with the Hell's Ingress and then follow up with the instant Harp attack. So pretty versatile. You can use it offensively or defensively. And that pretty much wraps up this video. I hope this helped you all. That way you can go in, get started as a Reaper, start leveling up and doing your dungeons. I do plan on doing a beginner's guide to Sage as well, as healing just comes natural for me. I am a healer main, I'm a main scholar, so I do plan on doing a Sage guide here in the future. And just remember that fashion is the real end game, and that is always important to flex on your enemies at any opportunity given. Y'all have a great day. This is your senpai, out.